Hi and welcome. This is Ranbir Puar. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode on my YouTube channel. If you haven't met me before, I have been a life strategies coach since 2009, and the focus of my work is in and around the idea of learning to like yourself and learning to like your family, because it's really important for us to strengthen the relationships under your roof. Well, my roof and your roof, you do yours, I'll do mine. Anyway, the idea of the roof is definitely a metaphor. I am very much in tune with the reality that many families have many different dynamics and homes and so on and so forth. So just think about it, the roof meaning your family. Anyhow, so this week's topic, I think, is timely because I am talking about something called the mental load. And the reason I want to talk about the mental load is because we're definitely overloaded right now, but it really does impact the relationships under your roof more than most things. And so if you were to look up what does mental load mean, it's really the term for that invisible kind of what they call labor. And it has a lot to do with managing a household, a family, sometimes a business. And it's often, it heavily falls in traditional, in the traditional sense on women. And, there's the to oversee, there's an idea of having to foresee what your kids or your family might need from you, what your boss might need from you, what your client might need from you. There's all this stuff and activity that's going on. So it's as though there's a constant to-do list going on in your mind. So if you can relate to that, please make a comment in the comment section below, because it's a really big deal. To talk about this. It's a big deal for us to have this dialogue about the mental load. In fact, because of everything that's going on in the world today, I actually added it as a Today I Practice a few weeks ago. And if you don't follow me on social media, you might want to just go to my Instagram. The handle is @freewithin, and you'll get this info like right on your feed. And this one is called Today I Practice Sharing My Mental Load. And what do I mean by today I practice? I find that affirmations don't really work in the long run unless you do some basic things first. So I thought if affirmations don't work, because there's a lot of science and I won't bore you with that, but basically, it depends on your state and it's changing your state and all of that kind of stuff. So what's a way that I could help people change mind habits in slow but bite-sized pieces, like an affirmation? And that's how I came up with the idea for this Today I Practice. So I shared this. Learning to share my mental load challenges me to learn how to discuss the thoughts that take up a lot of my bandwidth. It can include things such as a grocery list, organizing the family unit or a business team, and it can also include trying to anticipate the needs of others. Learning to share my mental load means communicating my to-do list to other people to ask for help. This can be hard because my inner critic says the people close to me, well, they should already know what I need help with. That if they cared about me, I shouldn't have to ask them for help. But this isn't true. And the only way I can create change is by saying what I need help with or input on, so I can clear up some of my mental bandwidth. And I'm committed to learning how to share my mental load so I can accept support from those closest to me. That is a big one. It's a big one because we are often stuck in our past programming, our childhood programming that tells us, maybe what our moms did or our dads did. It depends on who carried the mental load in your home. And that's just how it's supposed to be. And we assume that those loved ones should know. We assume our child should know to take the dishes out of the dishwasher or to ask you if you need any help or so on and so forth. But if people aren't mind reading at your house, if they don't have that skill, try this on instead, right? Try this technique instead. Try sharing it with them. Try saying, this is what my list is for what I need to do today. How is there any one of these things you can help me with? Just stop expecting them to read your mind, really. I think that's the biggest part of the mental load strategy. And it's really, really hard. For me in the beginning, it was awful because I really tied the idea that if my partner, if he loved me enough, wouldn't he just know that I needed his help? Wouldn't he just know that when I said, put the clothes, like, can you wash the clothes? That also meant, can you put them in the dryer? Like, I didn't realize that I had to slow down and share all the bits that I needed help with, that some people communicate differently and some people hear information differently. And did it really hurt me to say, can you put the clothes in the washer and dryer? What does that take away from me? It absolutely nothing, right? And some of you might be saying, yeah, but I don't want to have to babysit. I don't want to have to do this or do that. Yeah, but you'll get to the point where you don't have to do that. But in the beginning, you are doing what's called conditioning. You are conditioning them to understand your mental load. You're conditioning them to understand the steps it takes to do the laundry or to do the dishes or to make the grocery list. And I talk about this joke all the time. The hardest part about making dinner is planning what to make. So maybe sit down, everybody come together and give an idea of what they'd like to eat that week. And that's so much easier because then you have a grocery list and then boom, things fall into place. It's an invisible thing, the mental load. It can take up so much of your bandwidth. And if you're at that place, I highly recommend that you head over to my online school at innerchampion.me and you can join my free class. It's called 10 Techniques to Awaken Your Inner Champion. It'll help kind of get the juices flowing inside you so you can start to use your voice and ask for help in the ways that you need. It'll get the conversation started, but you have to have this adaptation happen inside your house. You have to be able to use your voice. And a lot of that comes back to the self-image. It's how you speak to yourself when you're alone with your thoughts. Does your inner critic tell you that, you're not worthy enough for other people to read your mind and know what you need? If they really loved you, they just do this. Is that what's happening for you? So make sure you dig deep into that because that does fall on your shoulders. The other thing that happens when you start to talk about your mental load, it becomes less of this like monster under the bed. It has less oomph and it takes up less bandwidth. So you can really start to join in your family and soak up the beauty of what you're creating or have created in your space. Because the kids that you have, you're the perfect parent for them. You already know that. They want to be able to assist you and help you, but they just need guidance. So coaching them along on that. When you learn to share your mental load, please know, warning signs, what's going to happen. Because sometimes when other people start doing stuff for you or helping, you start to feel this kind of uncomfortable feeling where you think, am I needed? Am I worthy? Am I replaceable? You're not. I read this meme on the internet this week that said the only place you're kind of replaceable is in your job, but not in your home. Not in your home. So please remember that. Just because they help you and pitch in, it doesn't make your value any less. It just makes you function more as a team rather than as one person trying to drag the team. So I hope that makes sense. I'd love to know, do you have questions about mental load? Is there one thing you're struggling with? I ran into a lady at the grocery store. She was standing at the meat section and she was just a complete stranger. And she was just talking about how she struggles with her mental load and what should she do? And how does she, get some progress with her husband because she's really just hit a wall with him. And it could be your wife. It could be your partner, it could be your ex. It doesn't really matter who that individual is that you've hit a wall with. How do you get them to buy in and help in this new conditioning? Like I said, the first step you need to do is actually make the list of what you need help with. And then you need to be really, really specific. on what you need and by when. Please, please do that. Put aside the ego and put aside this fantasy that they're going to read your mind. They're not. And I can bet that I could probably talk to the other partner and they'll probably have similar things to say about you. It goes both ways. We can't read their mind. They can't read your mind. The kids can't read your mind. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on. Make a list. Write down what you need help with. Write down exactly the details that you of that job, and make sure you write time frame. And people know their parameters and they will work within them, because most families want to be cohesive. Most children, believe it or not, do really, really want you to be happy and to contribute. It makes humans feel so good when they're pitching in. Don't make it a chore by bringing in the drama that's unnecessary. We've been conditioned to do that. I used to do the same thing. I'd be like, don't you know where the wood spoons are? You know, like, don't you know this? You've lived here for this long. I have said all that stuff to my husband. Believe me, if I brought him on this YouTube channel, I don't know. He might share too many of my bad habits that I used to have. But if I can work through them, you can work through them. If I can let go of my inner critic and the need to feel like a victim always, my mental load made me feel like a victim. But I clung to it because it was married to the story of I'm so hard done by. But really, if I stopped and shared the load, I would see that I have these humans in my life that actually want to help me, that actually want to contribute. And when I did that, everything changed. I have children that do share the load of the family. I don't call it chores. My husband doesn't call it chores. We kind of made that decision from the beginning. These are just family systems. In our for our family system to work, we need clean laundry. We need dishes. We need to have it vacuumed. We don't make it feel burdensome. I know that sounds really trite and it seems far-fetched to believe that, but it's possible to be able to do that in your home. So as you go forward, and you're thinking about this mental load, I'm going to recap what it is. It is an exhausting thing that is like mental labor, that you feel like you're carrying this heavy backpack with you everywhere you go and you can't put it down. But I promise you, you can put it down and share it with the people that are in your space. I promise that you don't have to try to always be anticipating the needs of others. You can have conversations with your children and ask them to contribute to what they might want to have for a snack. You don't have to try to foresee that all the time. You can engage them and allow them to come into that space. And like I said, sometimes when we take off that heavy backpack, that heavy weight, it feels uncomfortable because we don't know what to fill the space with, right? That's the big key sort of linchpin when it comes to habit building and habit changing. You're not creating a new habit, you're swapping habits. So when you are sharing your mental load, you're going to have space. Don't fill it with bickering, don't fill it with nitpicking, and don't fill it with just like looking for problems. Fill that space with praise, with rest, with creation, with creativity, with meditation, with exercise. Find something to fill the space with. That is usually where people go wrong when they start to share their mental load. A whole bunch of stuff. I really think it's important for us as adults to role model sharing our mental load, because we are really feeling compressed right now. Our children are really, really feeling compressed right now. And so to have some compassion and to be able to spread this out a little bit is important, because your kids are watching you. You know, and if you're fried right now, that's the behavior they will role model one way or another. And we have a responsibility for that, to them, to look at ourselves, to better ourselves, to be, you know, Ranbir 2.0, and be able to continually make modifications to my programming so I'm able to give the best of myself to them. But really and truly, I'm giving the best of myself to me first. It has to be real and congruent inside of my body for me to be able to give it to somebody else. So that's the sort of long video about mental load. Not long video, 14 minutes so far. It's invisible. You can tackle it. and you can share it, I promise you. So make sure you share your comments in the section below, and don't forget to subscribe. I should have said that at the beginning, but I'm new to this YouTube stuff and I'm going to get it. I'll figure it out. Subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and comments and all of that really helps my small little business keep trucking along. I appreciate you being here with me today and having this conversation about mental load. I'd love to know, what's the biggest item on your mental load? Can you share it in the comments below? Talk to you next week.